All right, good evening, everyone. For the May 11th, 2017 Planning Board working session. We'll start out with the agenda. Allison, a roll call, please.
Bastian?
Here.
Knauer?
Here.
Tydings?
Here.
Nersinger?
Here.
Sangster?
Here.
O'Connor?
Here.
Weissar?
Here.
As you said, would you like to go over the minutes?
Yeah, Zach, would you like to go over the minutes from the 27th,
Sure.
please?
Yep. Meeting minutes from April 27th work session meeting were provided for the board. Any questions, concerns, corrections that we saw?
Everybody's good with the minutes from the 27th?
Yep, I'll motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I'll
Bob?
second that.
Bill seconded.
Okay.
Allison?
Bastian?
Aye.
Knauer?
Aye.
Tydings?
Aye.
Alright. Move on to our one tabled application, Bayview Landing. The applicant did meet with the town board yesterday in this work session. There was an ongoing, the discussions are still ongoing, but they did present the idea of apartment units in the LaSalle's Landing District as they had proposed a couple iterations ago of the plans. So we're waiting to hear back from the town board on what direction you're going to take going forward, how they want to work with the applicant in terms of the application we have before the planning board and the proposed improvements there.
Okay, so given that, motion to continue tabled pending, I guess,
More information.
More information from town board and the applicant.
Okay, I'll second.
Thank you.
Bastian?
Aye.
Knauer?
Aye.
Tydings?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Before the public hearing, I'll just go over the 4 items that are on the board's agenda for the public hearing. Doug's already got the first one pulled up. Just gonna hit the highlights for you before we have to ask one before the presentation start. We have a application on behalf of Verizon Wireless on Panorama Trail for a micro tower in the right-of-way of Panorama Plaza. It's in total a 34-foot tall pole, wooden utility pole with an antenna mounted to the top and a couple utility service panels on the side. They've already received a Monroe County DOT permit that was included in the board's reference materials as well. So we are going through this exercise to review this site plan project because our code requires us to do so for the telecommunications facilities. We're in the process of looking at our code and doing some modifications to it to address these new types of structures that are mainly trying to be located in the right-of-way. So we're working on that, but tonight we'll hear it as a public hearing application. They're also going to the zoning board next week as well for the fall zone variance. Next one, you'll have an application for Bay Vista Taqueria, 1205 Bay Road, for a parking expansion. They're proposing to take a small portion off the building on the south side of it to accommodate for a wraparound driveway, basically, to bring it back to the front once you're done in the parking lot in the back. And they're also proposing outdoor dining space. So the board is hearing this for site plan review as well as a conditional use permit for outdoor dining. Next one. What do we got here? Yes, 1600 Penfield Road. This is back before the board. We had a sketch plan in February for this application. It's for an office building with 2 units in it. It's the former Class C chassis car wash site, now turned office building, proposed office building. They're very limited. I'm sorry.
Right now it's a pile of rubble.
Pretty much. They're very limited in what they can do on this site, especially with disturbance because of the DEC cleanup that's taken place, and they've shown compliance with all the DEC requirements at this point, which is why they're moving ahead with the project. So tonight we'll see it for, again, the 2-unit office building. Elevations for architecture are provided, all necessary site plans. PRC memos out there for this as well. They'll be going to the zoning board. No, I don't believe they have an application for the zoning board. I stand corrected.
Was there, did the applicant address the PRC comments as yet?
We have not received any of those yet.
Okay.
I anticipate them addressing those tonight,
Okay,
at least in the discussion, and then we'll
Yeah.
be still requiring written responses at some
Right.
point.
okay.
And the last one is the Aldi grocery store on Penfield Road. They're requesting a expansion to the building where the front row of parking would be removed, the existing front row of parking, to bring the building out, make it larger, revise their entrance so that's facing the parking more as opposed to the angle that it's on now. We'll have to go to the zoning board for signage and parking variances. Other than that, the lot coverage doesn't change too much because they're only disturbing what is pavement now. So the board will look at this for the site plan review portion of it. All right.
On the right, could you scroll down a little bit? Or, I'm sorry, right side.
On the site plan.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So that's all we have tonight.
Go on.
And if you'd like, we could take a recess until the 7 o'clock public hearing starts.
Okay. We'll recess for the next few minutes till 7 p.m. for the open meeting. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the May 11th, 2017 Planning Board meeting. If you would, join me in standing, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we have 4 items on the agenda, and we'll listen to the applicants and we'll have questions from the board. After the board is complete with their questions, anyone from the audience wishing to come up and ask a few questions, please come up and state your name and address. Address all questions to the board. And after that, we'll make some decisions and go to the back of the room for the work session. You're welcome to stay for that if you'd like. If not, you can contact the town tomorrow, any of the staff, and find out what happened tonight or any of your questions that still were not answered at the time. Without any further ado, Zach, you want to call the first agenda, please?
Thank you. Application number 1, Nixon Peabody LLP, 1300 Clinton Square, Rochester, New York, 14604. On behalf of Verizon Wireless, requests under Chapter 250, Articles 12-12.2 and 13-13.2 of the Code of the Town of Penfield for preliminary and final site plan and conditional use permit approval to construct a wireless telecommunication facility with a 34.2-foot utility pole in the right-of-way near 715 Panorama Trail South within the GB zoning district. The site is located in the right-of-way of Panorama Trail South, a roadway owned by Monroe County. Application number 17P-0008. Go ahead, Nate.
Zach, thank you. Members of the Planning Board, thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. As Zach said, my name is Nate Vanderwall. I'm here with the law firm of Nixon Peabody on behalf of the applicant here this evening, Verizon Wireless. With me this evening are a few members of the project team that I'd like to introduce. We have Kelly Spear and Mark Kulik from Tilson Engineering, as well as Martin Willix from Erdman Anthony, the site engineer in connection with the project. And I hope and trust among this group here, we're able to answer any questions this board may have following my brief presentation here this evening. Just quick overview of this rather extensive packet of materials that you've been provided with this evening. Verizon Wireless is a public utility in the state of New York, licensed by the Federal Communications Commissions, and as an FCC licensee is charged with providing adequate and substantial wireless telecommunications services within its licensed areas. As consistent and as required by that charge, Verizon is constantly reviewing its network to determine both where there are existing network deficiencies, where their service is not meeting that FCC required threshold, as well as where they anticipate future deficiencies within the network based on extensive studies that assess existing demand on the network, where calls are being made, where data is being downloaded, where that pull is coming from on the network. In this case, Verizon Wireless, in reviewing its network, reviewed in particular their Linden Avenue macro site. And just stepping back real quickly, simplifying it greatly, within the wireless telecommunications technology, you have micro and macro facilities. Macro are your traditional cell towers. And when someone thinks of a cell tower, that's a macro facility. Oftentimes anywhere from a 6 to 12, even 15 panel array on a tower. These larger facilities, sometimes back in the day, they could go up as high as 250, 300 feet. Nowadays, they're lower for a variety of reasons. But those type of facilities are intended to provide a broad, several square mile area of coverage. The other type of site, the type of site that's becoming much more prominent today, and this board may be familiar with it, are what are called micro or small cell sites. These type of sites are intended to provide targeted coverage to a real geographically finite area, what's often referred to as a hotspot. Areas where there is a real dense pull on the network, where there's a high concentration of usage. And in this case, the Panorama Plaza and the surrounding commercial area have been identified on Verizon Wireless's network as such a hotspot, an area where there is very high usage at various hours, and in general constantly within the network of both voice, which on the 4G LTE network, and even more prominently nowadays in data on the network, both of which utilize the 4G LTE spectrums. So having reviewed the network, identified both an issue with their Linden Avenue macro site. Linden Avenue is depicted on the propagation study provided under Exhibit F. I also have a blown up version here. Here's our proposed Panorama Plaza microsite. Here's the Linden Avenue site down here to the southwest. This site in particular, its alpha sector is, as detailed in that report, that RF analysis as Exhibit F, is what's called nearing capacity, meaning it has no more bandwidth, no more ability to process additional signals within that sector. So identifying that issue when a sector reaches capacity, such as the Linden Avenue site is approaching here, what happens is, and especially along its cell edges, you have is something as simple as and calls that experience a significant amount of interference. They're unclear. They don't meet that FCC required threshold of adequate and substantial service. You have slow transmission speeds with data, and you have everything up to and including dropped calls or an inability to connect on the network. In this case, we have that Linden Avenue alpha sector experiencing at or near capacity. In speaking with the RF engineer at Verizon today, he indicated of the 200 plus macro facilities in the greater Rochester area, each facility having itself 3 sectors. This alpha sector on the Linden Avenue is the 3rd highest priority on the network in the greater Rochester area in need of capacity relief. That's how much usage is being generated from this site. 30% of that larger usage is being driven from the Panorama Plaza and the immediately surrounding commercial businesses within that plaza area, within the immediate intersection of Penfield Road and Panorama Trail South. So just demonstrating the demand that's being pulled on the network from this area off this Linden Avenue site. Verizon Wireless proposes what's I call a microsite. This site is designed to provide capacity relief to the macro facility that's serving the site and provide the coverage that's needed within this much more finite area, approximately of a quarter of a mile, square mile, if you will, which what that does is allows the macro site serving a much larger area to be able to accomplish its coverage footprint, which in the larger area, by taking that high level, that concentrated usage off the macro site. So that's what Verizon saw when they when they reviewed their network. That's where they saw the high demand being placed on the network, and this microsite is the proposed resolution to relieve that capacity strain on that Linden Avenue site. The project specifically is a 29.5 foot tall above ground utility pole, on top of which is going to be installed a roughly 3 foot by 1 foot panel antenna, or excuse me, cantenna, that will provide that signal propagation within that area that you see approximately a quarter mile surrounding the Panorama Plaza site. This is proposed in the county-owned right-of-way near 715 Panorama Trail South. All the associated equipment with the facility will be mounted on the pole. There will be nothing located on the ground in the area of the pole, all wholly contained on the pole. The pole itself, 29.5 feet, even including the antenna on top, with an antenna centerline height of 32.6 feet and a total height of 34.2 feet, is at or below the height of the existing utility poles within that right-of-way. This project is, I believe, very well done in the sense that if you look at the existing utility infrastructure within that pole, it blends in quite well. I had a comparison, a simulation drawn up, which is a little bit small here, I apologize. But here's your existing right-of-way without the pole. Here's the right-of-way with the pole simulated in. It's really a seamless integration of the pole within that right-of-way. Really well done, again, with all the equipment contained right there on the pole. So creating minimal to no visual impact as is targeted by the town's code under their wireless telecommunications facilities ordinance. This proposed facility is pursuant to our discussions with the town deemed a telecommunications tower under the zoning ordinance. Its location in the general business district therefore requires both site plan approval and a conditional use permit from this board. We have also applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals to the extent any area variances are required in connection with this project. As set forth in the application materials, we believe this project and this pole in particular are clearly distinguishable from a telecommunications tower in the sense that the code requires landscaping or certain setbacks. This certainly this pole within the right-of-way is unable to meet a height of the tower setback by its very location. And to the extent that this project is distinguishable from your traditional telecommunication tower projects that the code is aimed at regulating, we'd request a waiver of those requirements to the extent this board is unable to provide a waiver of those requirements, sent back, landscaping, those type of requirements. Again, we have applied to the town zoning board of appeals for any necessary variances. Just summarizing in general this, in identifying the need for this coverage here around the plaza. This location of the pole is ideal for that purpose, providing coverage into the interior and surrounding parking lots of the plaza where the greatest demand is being pulled on the network per their studies, as well as with the added benefit of being able to accomplish coverage up and through the other retail establishments along Penfield Road that you see here, they're cut off, as well as the busy intersection there of Panorama Trail South and Penfield Road. So that added benefit makes this an ideal location for the project, as well as the added benefit, again, of being able to fit seamlessly within the right-of-way and accomplish the objectives of the project. Again, wholly in line with the priorities and the goals set forth in the town's wireless telecommunications facility. That's basically the general summary that I have of this packet of materials, and certainly happy to answer any questions that this board has this evening.
Yeah, Nate, I have a couple.
Yeah.
So when you guys figure out this is a hot spot down here, is there any other places like around in like the back of the plaza could be, or just that you focus it right here on this location, which, if I'm correct, you might want to tell the people watching on TV or in the audience here, it's near the Citizens Bank maybe, in Panorama Plaza? Am I
The
correct?
location of the pole itself? Yes. If I may step back here. Here's the Panorama Plaza here. I believe this, the Citizens Bank here, the pole is just outside the front of that Citizens Bank, that's correct. Providing an ideal location for signal propagation both into the plaza itself as well as the surrounding commercial buildings where the...
So it wouldn't suffice to like be behind the plaza maybe, as opposed to being right out in front of the plaza, right there on Panorama Trail?
Correct. Placing it behind the plaza would defeat the purpose of its ideal location there, being able to provide that coverage to those areas where the demand is, where the use is being drawn from. That's correct.
Is the demand maybe because it's so low down there in the valley and Panorama Trail? Is that what?
The demand is so high is because that's where the users are.
Right.
As they review the network, what they find in retail, or what they find on the network is demand is highest in retail establishments, for example, where there are lines. You find demand highest when people are entering and exiting retail establishments. People are waiting in lines. That's, I mean, right down to that level of detail is where they find. Certainly, in the simplest terms, you're going to find your highest level of demand where the traffic is. But they get right down to as finite as where you have people who are immobile for even brief periods of time and where the usage is highest on the network.
Do you have any of these type of towers anywhere else in Penfield presently? That you're aware of, if you know.
I'm, off the top of my head, I am not aware, but with the packet of materials was provided a list of nearby sites, which I will reference here. This is Exhibit K, this is the application packet, and there's a Linden Oaks microsite, and forgive me, off the top of my head, I'm not familiar with the address of these
All right.
of these sites.
Okay.
But generally speaking, this technology is becoming very prevalent. Not too many years ago, we were before boards routinely seeking approvals for the macro sites, as this board is probably very well aware. There still is some of that. There are still areas within even the more suburban municipalities that require the larger macro coverage. But more commonly nowadays, and because of the change in technology, because of the demand on the network, the micro sites are what you're seeing. You need the antenna closer to the user, covering much smaller areas to provide that necessary coverage for both the voice and the data.
And photos of these type of towers are on the the website, the application that you provided for any of the residents that would get on our website. And
That's
take a
correct.
look at those.
A simulation of this particular facility is provided at Exhibit O to the application that was submitted.
Thanks, Dave. Bob?
Nate, I had a few questions. The Linden Ave macro tower, was that looked at for an upgrade as far as improving or increasing bandwidth and coverage?
I can't speak to any contemplated projects with respect to that facility in particular. Whether that's part of the project to upgrade the coverage within that area, whether it was looked at and determined not to be adequate to provide this hotspot coverage, I can't speak to that. I can certainly provide the board with that information if that's something, deemed relevant to the board's decisions
Yeah, I
here,
think
but,
we'd be interested to see if, I guess, upgrading existing hardware on an existing tower would also resolve that issue with coverage down there.
certainly that is something that information I can provide to the board.
And I guess another technical question is there any kind of power backup on that structure? I did see there's a generator receptacle, but I didn't know if there was, being a smaller cell point, that there might be some battery backup in one of those cabinets or what?
The standard design for the microsites is just the receptacle. Should the
Okay.
need arise, the ability to on-site hook up to a generator, but I believe that is the extent of any
Okay.
power backup. Martin here can advise me if I'm incorrect in that regard.
Mark, why don't you just come up and give it your name, please, and your title and your comments?
I'm Martin Willix. I'm with Urban Anthony, and I can add a little bit to what Nate said. Things change all the time. It's week to week, day to day, minute to minute. So a little update to the drawings as we hopefully go into construction. There's a few items on that tower elevation that won't actually be installed. Starting with the ladder bracket, which is nothing more than a little rack that you lean a ladder on to access the cabinet. Verizon's not using them. That's number one. Number two, there's a general use receptacle, just a duplex outlet, like we have on the wall here, that's showing on there. That won't be installed either. And then the third item that won't be installed will be a generator receptacle, which obviously provides the ability to plug in a generator and provide backup power. I think Nate answered it correctly. Each one of those cabinets, they hold two things: rectifiers that change AC power to DC power, that power the radio head, that power the antenna. They run on DC. And then there's also racks for batteries for a little backup.
Okay.
So there is a little bit of
a short
emergency backup for a short amount of time.
duration.
I don't have a time frame for you,
Yeah.
how long they run, but it's meant for those smaller power outages, not 3 days.
Okay. And then typically, if there was a longer-term shortage, or outage, it would just be a portable generator that would be placed at the base or truck?
Once we remove the generator receptacle, that would not occur.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were
Yeah.
removing just the convenience receptacle.
And the generator receptacle.
Oh, and the
Three
generator.
items: ladder bracket,
Okay,
general use receptacle, generator receptacle.
okay.
Okay, so it would be just that really short-term battery backup that would
That's
be
your
provided.
backup.
And like I say, things change day to day at Verizon, that things move at the speed of light and data. But if we hopefully, the narratives that I hear from them is when they have a large power outage, the macros have generator backup.
Right.
And they might not provide the greatest of coverage during a 3-day power outage, but they'll provide sufficient.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I Excuse me, I have a question on that, the generator backup. There's also a manual transfer switch. Would that also be removed?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah, it'll be nothing more than a simple panel.
okay.
Nate, you all set?
And it's smaller, by the way. The panel that replaces the panel link, the mechanical interlock, that's roughly from, well, I don't have to do it from memory. It's 23 by 15 by 5, and the new one's roughly 12 by 8 by 4. So it's getting condensed. So a lot less on the pole. You're really down to just the antenna, the cabinet, and the radio head.
Thanks, Martin. Anything else? That's it?
Yep.
Yeah, just one other thing, so you're going before the zoning board this month?
Correct, on the 18th.
3 variances you need?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Nate. You're all set?
I'm all set.
Anybody in the audience like to come up and ask a few questions? All right, great, thank you very much. Great presentation. Okay, Zach, application 2, I guess.
Application number 2, Ray Trotta, 227 Alexander Street, Suite 210, Rochester, New York, 14607, on behalf of Bay Road Properties LLC, requests under Chapter 250, Articles 12-12.2 and 13-13.2 of the Code of the Town of Penfield for preliminary and final site plan approval and expansion to conditionally permitted use for a parking lot expansion and outdoor dining area with associated site improvements on 0.503 acres located at 1205 Bay Road. The property is now or formerly owned by Bay Road Partners LLC and zoned LB. Application number 17P-0010, SBL number 093.11-1-41.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for having us, or having me this evening. Actually, I don't have a team with me this evening. This evening, we're talking about Bay Vista Taqueria.
I'm sorry, could you give your name?
Sure. It's Ray Trotta from Holland Trotta, Inc. And we are the design management firm in overseeing this project for the ownership and representing the tenant as well in this case. What we were trying to accomplish with this, may be familiar with the existing Bay Road Taqueria restaurant, basically has a parking situation. They have currently 8 parking spots only in the front of the restaurant, and it's causing quite an issue of parking. There are people that come to the restaurant, patrons are going to across the road to other sites that happen to be vacant, and really just eight parking spots for a restaurant is just not adequate. So what we were doing is trying to look at opportunities to, this is kind of a bowling alley type configuration of a lot. It's very long and narrow. And we were looking at opportunities to put parking in the rear, as well as they wanted to have outdoor seating at the back of the restaurant. So what we did is we actually, as some of the board members know, we came back and forth informally at the work sessions to originally look out what can be done just as a kind of a simple application, administrative application of parking. Unfortunately, what that did is there wasn't, by trying to get the circulation to the back and circulation out the front because it's so tight on the sides and the building, to have one-way circulation around the building, we really wouldn't have a net gain of enough parking spaces to be adequate for it to be worthwhile to do anything. So therefore, we looked into expanding the parking area of what we're proposing now, that basically in total has 20 parking spaces with the front and the back, but we're basically looking at a net gain of 12 parking spaces. So it's still not a huge increase, but it gets us something. What we were also trying to do is we were trying to connect to Kid Castle Way, and Kid Castle Way, it's a private right-of-way, and some of the powers that be on that private right-of-way were not fond of having that connection at this time. So what the compromise was, we worked through with the PRC and DRC is that basically to come up with an easement towards the rear that allows for that future connection. But in doing so, and in doing this parking, we are basically looking for a variance. We were searching a variance of going over the lot coverage, which is 65% is allowable. We were going to, this design is 72%. We went for that variance in last month's April meeting, and we were approved for that variance. So that's already been done. And what is included in the design now is we worked through to put the trees, part of that application was to put trees in relationship to the road as a typical streetscape that is within tile compliance. We have the stormwater drainage contained towards the rear of the property. We have the easement, which I talked about before. We have one-way circulation around the building. In doing that circulation, we had to remove a portion of the existing building. That was an addition at the side, which is actually at the south side of the building. And what we also did is we did a proposed dumpster enclosure so the garbage truck can come in, pick up from the front, and then leave around the perimeter. In doing so, we also cleared up some of the insufficient striping that was on the front and have the ADA spots, and all the parking striping will be in compliance with the appropriate town parking space arrangements. So everything is basically, circulation has been addressed, parking has been addressed, landscaping has been addressed. We made this a rain garden in the back, so we basically have this area for stormwater addressed. And then there was the fifth item, is basically the outdoor seating. The outdoor seating was contained, existing concrete pad that's on the back of the building. It's in the exact same footprint of what's there, but now it's going to be a raised platform for outdoor dining that will be connected to the restaurant. We connected that outdoor dining area with a sidewalk path to the parking in the rear, and also have an accommodation. So if what we're showing here is potentially for a future ramp to ramp up the side. Now, the building permit for that actually deck, if you will, the outdoor deck will be a separate application. We're just looking for site plan approval this evening. So what we're seeking right now, to keep it simple, is basically site plan approval, preliminary and final, and we're also seeking a conditional use permit for the outdoor dining. But other than that, it's a fairly simple project, and I'm just here to answer questions.
Ray, did you answer all the PRC comments?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and you're all set now with variances necessary?
Yep, all the variances, and we received variance approval, and we also did receive county feedback from the county with 0 comments on it, other than the standard, if you have a monument, things of that nature. We received that last week.
All right, what about so you're gonna have any signage or anything that telling people to go in the back now, parking or anything like that?
Actually, we weren't anticipating any signage because it's kind of obvious there's only a couple parking here, and
Yeah.
we may just put like parking in the rear on the side of the building or something like that, a small sign, but nothing of significance. It's fairly self-explanatory. This is almost a residential house size.
Right.
That once you see the driveway going here, what we will have is on this side, do not enter. So, because we don't want, because this is one-way circulation, so
Right.
we probably will have, parking in rear and then do not enter on this side. Just wayfinding.
No problem getting vehicles around the back,
No,
either side of the
This is actually
location.
12 foot wide, so you have a standard full-size lane. By giving one-way circulation, you really, typical 24-foot two-way circulation, so you really have, with 12 feet, you have adequate single circulation with no issue. And there's no truck traffic that'll be coming back here. The largest truck, like I said, was the garbage truck that would come here. All deliveries are hand cart that would be in the front.
Landscaping, you said along Kid Castle Way?
Yep, there's landscaping, that these trees have been added along with the landscaping plan, which actually you have in your submission. Generally on Kid Castle, it's majority is the tree landscaping. The landscaping is more for the rain garden that's in the rear. If that was something right here, I mean, it's generally it's grass, that's right
Right.
there on the side.
Yeah, you're not opposed to meeting with our landscape architect, right? If you haven't
No.
met with him already?
No.
In case he has any suggestions, maybe to
No, that's fine.
You know,
That's absolutely fine.
improve it down there. Okay.
It's pretty simple. I mean, that's on that way. There's really, really we're adding treescape to it rather, and which basically demands on the soil volume. So if the landscape architect wanted tall grasses or something of that nature, we wouldn't be opposed to that.
Thanks, Ray. Anybody else?
Yeah, I had a few
Go ahead.
questions. Are there any proposed changes for the existing lighting specifically to the back of the property and the parking lot?
Actually, no. And it's only about, 12 spots in the rear, 12, 14 spots in the rear, so we don't really think there's going to be a need for any parking lighting in the rear. There will be some lighting that will be contained on the outdoor seating, but we're thinking it's probably like right under, if there's umbrellas or whatnot. It's very ambiance type task lighting, if you will, for dining.
I don't know the answer to this. Is there lighting along Kid Castle Way?
I don't believe, there's utility poles, but I'm not sure if is there?
Okay.
I don't know.
I guess,
You know?
I don't know the answer offhand, but we can check into that.
okay, I guess my only concern would be at the very rear of the property, the illumination levels as they fall off from any lighting on the building, creating possibly an unsafe situation.
I don't envision, there's definitely not going to be any flooding outside the site because it's generally contained right in this area. The only thing I could see is if the board's request is from a security standpoint, if you wanted to add lights. I mean, really, there will be no impact, I could tell you that right now, from to the existing neighbors as far as flooding of lighting or anything. The only thing I could see is we didn't really see that in this neighborhood and whatnot, that this would be a security issue of having parking lighting back there or whatnot. It's adequate enough that you would see the building, that it's not a safety concern of walking to it, but it's not going to illuminate on top of your car by any
Okay.
means.
And right now, you have one existing handicap spot?
Currently, right now, one, but we actually have space for two, so.
Okay.
So we could add that other one for the second. It just from the requirement of square footage and whatnot, it was only one, but
Right.
we're not opposed to doing
Right.
as many
Just
as you need.
thinking, with the extra spots, maybe you're going to get more business and maybe a second, possibly a second handicap spot.
And that would make sense right next to the striping
Yeah.
as well, right here. So we could easily accommodate it because we could shift this striping over a little bit and make this a wider spot. So that would be fine. We can do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Ray. You're all set. Anybody else in the audience like to ask a few questions regarding this application? Okay, thanks, Ray. Okay, Zach, application 3.
All right. Application number 3, T.Y. Lynn International, 255 East Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14604. On behalf of Springsland Company LLC, requests under Chapter 250, Articles 6-6.1 and 12-12.2 of the Code of the Town of Penfield for preliminary and final site plan and EPOD permit approval to construct a new 4,600 square foot commercial office building with associated site improvements on 0.68 acres located at 1600 Penfield Road. The property is now or formerly owned by Springland Company LLC and is Zone GB. Application number 17P-0011, SBL number 123.20-2-47. Go ahead, Bob.
Good evening. Robert Kiefer, professional engineer with offices at 255 East Avenue in the city of Rochester. I'm joined this evening by Jeff Arnold and Dave Clements, owners of the subject property, and also by Peter Woods, representative of Eastman Savings and Loan. As the announcement that was read stated, we're talking about a property at 1600 Penfield Road, 0.6 of an acre. We're proposing to redevelop the site with a 4,600 square foot office building. I've been involved in this piece of property for a dozen years. I've been before this board on multiple occasions. I think you'll all recall that this was previously a dry cleaning facility. It has environmental contamination associated with that. It's been an arduous process working with the DEC and others to have a remedial plan and a method whereby this site could be redeveloped. And the proposal before you this evening is kind of a compromise between grander plans of the past and the realities of the site today. And the intent is to redevelop the site using the existing foundation of the previous dry cleaner facility. That dictates the size of the building, and we've designed a building that is architecturally attractive to sit upon it. The site is encumbered two ways. It's encumbered by the fact that it is environmentally contaminated, but it's also encumbered by a 100-year floodplain, which are sometimes conflicting in their goals. As being in the floodplain, we're required to redevelop the site such that we do not decrease the volume of the floodplain and aggravate the flooding situation, and therefore we cannot fill the site, if you will. And the contamination of the site, the remediation plan essentially requires that we cannot excavate the site. So what we're proposing to do is reconstruct the parking fields to the exact elevation that they are today, and to essentially not impact the floodplain at all, and to minimize to the maximum extent possible any disturbance below the surface of the ground as it is today. To comply with the floodplain regulations, we're proposing to waterproof the building to 2 foot above the 100-year flood elevation. We're proposing to do that by having all of the penetrations into the building above 274, with the exception of the 2 entry doors. The 2 entry doors would be fitted with the ability to put a dike in the door like they do over at the Tops Plaza during the 100-year storm event. We're making some very minor changes to the exterior. We're going to do ramps for the sidewalks in order to get up to the entryway. These will be something somewhat untraditional in that they're going to be on posts as opposed to a masonry ramp or a wood ramp that with earth under it and so forth, so that we're decreasing the amount of negative impact on the floodplain to the maximum extent possible. We're proposing to remove a little pavement out at the south end of the site where the entry drive came in off of Old Penfield Road previously, and by regrading a little bit in that area, we can balance the additional fill that's created by raising the sidewalks, putting in a curb and these ramps by removing the asphalt pavement there and doing a minimal amount of grading. It turns out to be something on the order of 17 cubic yards, which is 2 truckloads essentially. We've provided an engineer's report associated with this, that we're basically going to reconnect the existing sanitary and the water services that came to the building. We're proposing that the trip generation under the proposed use would be 84 trips per day, and that no traffic mitigation is required. We're proposing to delineate between the travel lane of the common private driveway to the east of the subject site by putting a curb in. It would be a raised curb exposed on both sides, so instead of having a 7-inch reveal on the pavement side and then earth or sidewalk behind it, we're going to have 7 inches of reveal on the back side of the curb also, because we can't do that filling. And the water will allow to be passed between them by horizontal slots constructed at the surface of the ground up into the curb a couple inches. We're proposing building-mounted lights with no additional light poles and the associated excavations. And in our package of information, we provided you architectural drawings indicating the style and the colors. A combination of some masonry around the base of the building, vinyl siding, brick accents, standing seam metal roof. We are in receipt of the Project Review Committee comments. We can comply with all of them, but we might just talk about a couple of them. The majority of the comments are make sure that we have the correct signature blocks on the pages and that type of thing. They asked for, the town has asked us to put a note on the plans reflecting the fact that we're creating the compensatory storage for the slight amount of filling by doing a slight amount of excavating on our site, and we'll add those notes to the drawing. There was a comment made with regards to the common driveway, which is this area here. This is the easement savings and loan kiosk. I can tell you from previous experience with previous applications on this site that we did negotiate and enter into a maintenance agreement for that drive. In the last few weeks, we've had a difficult time resurrecting that document. Neither my clients nor Eastman Savings and Loan was able to find a copy of the executed document, but they have agreed to do it again, and we will provide that agreement to you. There was a suggestion by the town that a catch basin be installed in this vicinity, water ponds on this common drive out close to Penfield Road. We're not prepared to offer that as a solution to the problem. A catch basin would require an excavation, and it would require installation of a pipe to discharge that water to where we're proposing it to go, to this existing catch basin, which is on easement to the town, and we don't want to do that kind of excavation across the front of the site. What we're proposing in lieu of that, and to solve not only the collection of the drainage off of our parking lot, but also the water that accumulates in this area of the common drive, is we'd suggest that we would put a concrete gutter across there, which is far less intrusive into the contaminated soils. The town has asked that we provide a concrete washout station on the site plan. Not an issue. We'll be happy to do that. There was a question raised with regards to whether or not the stone check dam that is proposed at this location, what the elevation of that would be. If we switch to a concrete gutter, we won't need that stone check dam. And there was a question raised as to whether or not there would be an opportunity to do some plantings in the front, plantings, potted plant type plantings, seeded plants. We can do digging holes in order to plant trees. We're trying to avoid that if at all possible. I believe that covers the comments that were raised by the PRC. I would be happy to try to answer any additional questions that you might have.
Let's see here. Okay, what do we, so I want to ask you about, what's with the, I was by there the other day, there's a lot of debris there presently. What, that's going, is that stuff you dug up already? What's?
There's a chain link fence around a portion of the site. There is some construction debris that was left from the demolition of the building. All of that material will leave the site.
Okay. And presently now you're going to build this office building. We discussed, I think, on previous occasion, what they're going to do, what, they got a couple different tenants or something?
The building is designed such that it could be divided into two occupancies. The front entrance takes you into a foyer, which allows you to go to the left and right into separate spaces, although it's possible that a single tenant would choose to use the entire building. They do not have a tenant under contract.
Okay, I'm good. Rob?
Hey, Bob, I had one question I was looking for. The material for the fencing around the dumpster, what's the proposal?
It's 2x4 pressure-treated boards with vinyl clapboard siding. It's a vinyl-looking, horizontal vinyl clapboard siding exterior to the dumpster enclosure.
Okay, so the exterior would be, vinyl clad.
Vinyl clad, and it would be the same vinyl siding that is used above the masonry on the front of this building, or on the sides of the building.
Gotcha, okay. Okay, I think that's all I had.
Bill, you're all set, right? Okay, thanks, Bob. Anybody in the audience like to ask a few questions? Okay, thank you. Good. One more? Yes, sir. Step right up, please, and give us your name and address, please. Address your questions to us, please. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Frank Stolt. Our company's Stolt Realty. We own the plaza to the east of the ESL, where the post office is, Advanced Auto Parts, and the building in the front, Subway and liquor store. And we maintain a right-of-way out that way also, as well as ESL got approved on the original application that also put another usage on their property sometime in the future if they wanted to, or somebody else purchased it. I just want to make sure that that right-of-way is going to be sufficiently maintained by ESL or whatever agreement they have, so that in the future, if the uses change in the former Perkins Swim Club that has a daycare, and that gets divided into multiple tenants or something, you know, and we decide to, we have an exit from our property to come back out onto Penfield Road, but they don't have access to our property. So if we ever wanted to use that, I want to just make sure that we're not losing some access back out to the road because of, you know, a lot of additional uses, or the maintenance isn't something that's registered with the town, so that we're protected.
So you have an exit out of your plaza where the post office and the AutoZone is?
We have a right-of-way across on the rear of the ESL property on the north side.
Right.
That goes across the daycare center, and then that's one right-of-way, and then there's an additional right-of-way that goes from that point there south out to Penfield Road. Matter of fact, we used to own that right-of-way, which they're talking about entering an exit on now, and we sold that, kind of pretty much gave it to Ponderosa years ago, because they needed that access out, and as long as we maintained our right-of-way, it really didn't affect our situation.
Great, thank you. We'll check into that. Bob, you want to address that question?
This is the Eastman Savings and Loan Kiosk here.
Yeah.
This is the proposed building that we're proposing to build on the exact foundation as to where the dry cleaner was. And this is the common easement area that provides ingress and egress for Eastman Savings and Loan, the proposed office building, and for the daycare center. And now I understand that there's also rights of people to the east to be able to use this easement also. The recording of the easement for ingress and egress is well documented, and the library and pages of the easements are on the drawings. The other part of that question, if I understand it correctly, is whether or not there is a maintenance agreement in place to ensure that this piece of pavement will forever be maintained. And that's where we started the presentation this evening, that we had done that under a previous approval for a previous project. We have been unable to recreate that. It apparently did not get filed. As recently as today, we've had conversations between the owners of the subject parcel and with Eastman Savings and Loan, and we are prepared to re-execute that document, and we will provide that to the town with the documentation that is permanently in place.
Great. Okay, Bob. Does that answer your question, Frank? If you check back,
That's all, like I said, anything they put in there is going to be better than it is now, or
Right.
it's been for a number of years. And I don't have any problem with the, development. I just want to make sure that in the future.
Great question.
That we can get out.
glad you brought it up. Yeah, it was addressed. And I think if you probably check back with Zach or somebody in the department in a couple days, once we establish this, I think it'll resolve your issue.
Thank you.
Great. Bob? Great. I'm all set. Anybody else, any questions out there in the audience? Thanks, Bob. Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, and we got one more, applicant 4, right, Zach?
That's right. Final application, application number 4, APD Engineering and Architecture, 615 Fishers Run, Victory, New York, 14564, on behalf of Aldi Incorporated, Tully Division, requests under Chapter 250, Article 12-12.2 of the Code of the Town of Penfield for preliminary and final site plan approval for a 3,236 square foot addition to an existing grocery store with associated site improvements on 1.71 acres located at 2208 Penfield Road. The property is now or formerly owned by Aldi Inc. and Zone GB. Application number 17P-0012, SBL number 140.01-1-6.1.
Good evening. My name's Chris Cambar. I'm with APD Engineering and Architecture. I'm here representing Aldi, and this is an existing Aldi store on Penfield Road that they would like to add a 3,200 plus or minus square foot addition to. They'd be coming out the front long wall, currently the wall that faces the existing parking lot. As part of the project, we would need to lose the first row of parking. There's 9 spaces currently shown there per our survey. Those spaces would need to be removed to expand the building. However, we would be saving the existing green space, and we're proposing to relocate the vegetation that's in that green space. The existing parking lot has 73 parking spaces, and we're proposing 68. We were able to gain a few by reducing the size of the parking spaces to 9 foot wide and a few other minor adjustments in the parking lot. We were able to gain 4 spaces back. So it's a net loss of 5 spaces. Per the parking requirements, with the allowable 20% reduction with available parking and adjacent neighbors, we have an easement to be able to park in other lots in that plaza. We need 74 parking spaces. Currently, we have 68, so we will need to obtain a variance from the zoning board. The existing lighting in the parking lot will remain the same. The light poles will remain in exactly the same location, same shape, same ornate feature. The ground-mounted pylon sign will remain the same. We are looking to adjust the building facade around the canopy slightly. Instead of a corner placement of the canopy sign, it'll be 2 logos on either side and 2 food market signs, and those will also need, the building mounted signage will also need a variance for a number of signs. But it does fall more in line with what Aldi's prototypical package is for their signage with the logo and the food market on either side of the building. We did receive very minor comments from the planning committee, planning review committee. I think they were to the tune of signatures on our plans. I don't believe there was anything else or anything major. I guess with that, I'll keep it real simple. I can show you an aerial as well, or a elevation of the building as well. But I guess I can open it up to you and see if you guys have any comments or anything else that I can address while I'm here. Oh, the look and feel of the facade too, it'll basically stay the same. They're pulling it out. They're going to keep the ephes look with the multiple towers and the the columns that come down on either side. So there's columns on the backside towards the loading dock here. They will, as part of maintenance of the property, they're going to mill and overlay the lot, the asphalt lot, and they're also going to replace the loading dock concrete, which is in pretty bad shape, and they'll rebuild the dumpster enclosure, which is in the loading dock itself. So all of those features will remain the same. With that, any questions? I'd be more than happy to answer.
Okay, so that's basically the same building, just a new addition on it. Lighting's gonna stay the same, right?
Yes.
You know, a few new lightings, that's all part of the plan. What about landscaping? And put some new landscaping around?
There's quite a bit of landscaping around the site. Like I said, we are relocating the landscaping along the long side of the building. And that's, there's quite a bit of landscaping around there. There's trees down the main driveway coming into the site, and there's shrubs around the front of the site.
Yeah, because it sits like right out there, right? Your building in the parking lot there, if I'm familiar with that, right? Your building sits right down the middle of the lot, right? On Penfield Road, right?
I'm not sure it sits out there in the middle of the lot. So our parking lot is on one side, and it is, our building is up on Penfield Road right away.
Right.
So you have the existing stormwater facility here. It's kind of a sunken area, and there's trees along the front here, trees. There's shrubs along the corner here. There's trees within the landscape islands. All this landscaping in here is going to be put back into place. If not, it'll be replaced in kind. And then there's street trees along the main drive aisle. So there's quite a bit of landscaping out there under existing conditions.
Okay, so you're hoping that the present landscaping works when you put the addition on the building, is that what you're saying?
Correct, correct. And you know, if you want, we can add notes if they're not on here already, that the contractor shall replace, you know, any dead or dying landscaping will be replaced in kind.
Okay. You're not opposed to working with our landscape consultant, as always, right? To any recommendations we have?
Yeah, I'll be able to take those into account and work with all of them, yeah.
Okay, and then how many variances you need from zoning?
Two, one
Two.
for signage, one for parking.
Okay, I'm all set.
I had, excuse me, one question. The location of your handicap spots, just an observation, did you consider the, I guess it would be the southeast corner, the first spots along there for handicap that way? For the handicap parkers, they don't actually have to cross the roadway or the parking lot, I guess, lane, versus just coming right up to the building.
Well, they will, for ADA accessibility, there's no, you know, so if are you saying put the handicap in this area here?
Just a observation, just a comment, I guess.
What I'm asking is
Yeah.
like right along Penfield
Right.
Road?
Yeah,
So for two reasons. One, well, technically we only need 3 spaces, so we'd have to stripe out 2 parks. And this is just a more efficient configuration for the number of parking spaces to limit, you know, having to reduce our parking count by 1 more, essentially. And I feel that it's a little bit easier for, either way, they're going to have to go into the drive aisle. Because if they parked here, they would have to come around the backside of the cars.
correct.
This way, they wouldn't have to come around the backside
Yeah.
of any cars or walk through the parking lot. And they'll have a dedicated crosswalk. It's shown a little shifted on this plan. It'll actually line up with the striped area. But they'll actually have a dedicated crosswalk now. So, you know, it will meet ADA regulations.
Okay,
Thank you.
that was it.
So, thank you. Anybody in the audience like to ask any questions? Great, Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Zach, that's it?
Yes, that's all we have for the public hearings.
Okay, we're finished with the applications. I guess we'll reconvene in the back of the auditorium to continue the work session. Thank you. We'll start our work session. Please, Zach.
We'll just go through our applications as they were heard. If that's okay with the board. We'll go back to the Verizon application. Thoughts from the board on the proposed micro facility that's Anything proposed for Panorama?
It's a really straightforward
Yeah.
Can
application.
someone speak as
Yeah.
his voice?
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any issues with it presently. They're going for the ZBA, correct?
Correct.
So we're all set with that.
That will happen next week at the zoning board's public hearing.
Yeah, so at this point, if Bob, you got any other concerns?
No.
You're all set, voiceless.
I would recommend we move forward with the approval.
Okay.
I'll second.
But first, I
So
want
we-
to know, we have to do the Part 2 and Part 3 EAF.
Wait.
But before we do that, I
Yeah.
want to say the approval has to be conditioned on the variances from ZBA.
Right, so,
Now, is that putting the cart before the horse?
yeah, I think
Can
we
do
should
that?
table it, right, pending the results of the zoning board,
Yeah.
correct?
Or can we condition it?
That could, for this application, it may be more appropriate to table it first.
To table it,
Yeah,
okay.
to let
that's what I
the
think.
zoning
I
board
agree.
hear it. There was one item that was brought up in the public hearing before we get into the tabling resolution. It sounds like we're going that way. Bob, I believe you brought up a question for the applicant about asking if any upgrades could be done to any existing
Right.
facilities. We could ask for clarification
Yeah, that's a good question.
as a tabling item
Yeah.
to provide that for the board before the next meeting. And then also pending any decision from the zoning board at its meeting next week.
Right.
Okay.
I
Wanna
move to
make the
table with those.
Okay. Bill will make the motion to table it.
Okay.
I'll second that, I guess.
Okay, I'm sorry, Bob made the motion?
Bill?
Bill,
Bill
Okay, sorry.
and
I'll
Terry.
second it.
Thank you. Okay, Bastian,
Aye.
Knauer,
Aye.
Tydings,
Aye.
All right.
Okay, Bay Road.
Next application.
Hey, Vista, it's pretty, seems everything's in order for that. Anybody got any concerns or questions?
I would agree with Bob that maybe need a couple light posts out the back of that parking lot. I don't know what the conditions are out there, if there's any street lamps or something that would shed any light on those, but
We can pull that up if Doug's gonna probably navigate over to the street view.
and it's a half-acre lot, and I know in the back of my yard, it's dark. And people
Yeah,
are gonna
Mike-
be walking in.
My concern was just the distance back from the building, and particularly in the wintertime, where you
Yeah.
could have
Black ice.
slippery, icy surfaces. And yeah, I wanted to see if there was any lighting along that roadway, but it doesn't.
I can see
There's-
there's a light here at the entrance to Goodwill and Salvatore's.
And then whatever's generated off the back of the building.
Where's the yard we're looking at, the property and this drawing?
In front of that,
Right there?
yeah, where the shed is and the parking and those
Yeah.
cars now.
That shed's going, so.
So our specification for parking lot illumination, is it a minimum of .2?
I don't know the
Foot
detail.
candle?
I don't know the detail offhand. I don't know offhand. We'd have to review that in our specs.
Okay,
Get back to you on that one.
okay. I think that's one thing that
Was
should
lighting
be,
provided on the plans? Contours? Or it is something that the town engineer could review
yes.
during the pre-Mylar process to make sure adequate lighting is provided.
So we could go ahead and move forward with it
Do that as
based on the, and then upon recommendation or approval from the
Town engineer.
town engineer.
Yeah, are there any
We don't
other
have any
items? we've-
concerns,
Right, they
right?
went through, they did go through the landscaping.
right?
The rain gardens provided in the back, both for, well, really, for stormwater
So if everybody's good with
quality.
it, right?
That's there. We had no issues on that. Street trees are provided along Cape
Cape
Castle
Castle,
Way.
yeah.
It's a private drive. Typically, they are required. We always have a street tree policy for all the applications. It's always required on the town frontages, but in this case, they've shifted that and added additional trees along a private drive, which is above and beyond, and staff had no issues with that. Dumpster enclosure. Dumpster currently exists now. They're shifting it back to be accessible off the drive-through, single drive-through lane, the in and out. Will be enclosed with similar materials.
We discussed A second handicap spot.
Yes, that was something we can note as a condition to have the second handicap spot added to the plan. I think it's a good idea with the layout that they have, if the board feels it's applicable.
Yeah.
They are, they are meeting the requirements, but if everyone's agreeable to it, it can be added. The board has no issues with the outdoor dining as proposed.
That's gonna come in as a separate, it's already there, right? On a concrete pad, and you said they're gonna raise it, put a deck
They're
up.
gonna raise it.
And that's gonna be a separate application, you said.
We took it as a all one application. It is a building permit that's required,
Okay,
and
maybe
I'll
that's-
ask Ray, is that what
It's a building
you were
permit, it's
stating?
conditional use is part of this
Yes.
permitting process, but a building permit will come in separate.
Okay, that's what you were referencing. Thank
Yeah.
you for clarifying.
No problem.
I don't have a problem with that,
So
it looks
you-
like they're improving it.
Use would just be for dining, wouldn't necessarily have any music out there?
No,
That's a good question.
that's not the intent. It's just for outdoor dining.
Just outdoor dining?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and our code requires that be a
Conditional.
conditional use.
But they,
No
you said
singing, Ray.
the dining is already there,
Duly
the
noted.
concrete pad that they have.
Yes,
Do they have a conditional use permit now for that?
I'd have to check.
I don't think so.
I don't believe one
I don't
exists.
think so.
I was under the impression it wasn't a formalized
Okay.
eating area, but this would formalize it through this process, and again, like you said, bring a raised deck as opposed to the
Okay.
concrete patio. The
One
steps
thing-
leading down.
One thing we usually bring up with parking lots like this is snow storage. But I would think they have enough space around them that they could just push it off
Yeah.
the side, so I don't think that's a real big concern in my mind.
Yeah, we don't want it in the stormwater facility,
Right.
so.
No. We could have that. We could have that located on the plan as well,
Okay.
in a location acceptable to the town engineer.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, you guys?
Regarding the lighting, I want to go back to that. In the past, I know the town engineer is going to review it, but in the past, we've had applications where the board required a utility be run under or parallel to the parking, so that if a pole had to be installed at the rear of the parking, it could be. Is that something the board would like the applicant to explore?
I might want to take a look at it, now that he's putting it in there, sure.
Okay, and that's something, again, that the town engineer could review, but that has been done in previous applications by the
Yeah.
board for,
That would
again,
benefit
parking
them.
areas that are not necessarily illuminated by street lights of the surrounding area.
Just to put the conduit in.
You're right,
Yeah.
put the conduit in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's appropriate.
the applicant has a question if the board wants to take it.
Ray?
If I may, I was just gonna say, it may make sense to run the conduit right to the easement, just in case you have that future connection, that's what I would anticipate.
So you'd show that on a drawing?
Yeah, we could do that. I was just trying to make logical sense of
Mhm.
that, if you need a
Yeah.
future light, that's the place to put it.
Great. Good. Anything else, Bob? No? Might want to make a motion.
Okay, so we did provide the board, where did my notes go? We did provide the board with a Part 2 short EAF. That would be the first thing to act
Yep.
on if the board's in a position to approve this with conditions. So we start with the short EAF.
So I move we accept it.
I'll
Part two
second.
EAF.
Okay. Awesome.
Bastian,
Aye.
Knauer,
Aye.
Tydings.
Aye.
And then the approval resolution with the conditions noted here.
With conditional use permit, what does that come in?
That's included in all of the, that's in
That's
the
in the approval
resolution.
resolution.
Yep, that's part of the review. That's as I read it in the legal.
Motion.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Bastian,
Aye.
Knauer,
Aye.
Tydings.
Aye.
Okay.
All set, Ray?
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch, Ray.
Thank you.
All right, number 3. This takes us to the office building, Penfield Road. So the board, again, as I mentioned before the meeting in our first work session, the board did hear this as a sketch plan back in February. General comments were provided to the applicant from the board for our typical site plan review and others regarding the remediation that's taking place on site. The applicants provided the remediation plan that the board requested after that meeting. It's been provided for you as part of this application, history and background from previous applications. As the applicant stated, they had received the PRC comments. We had not got the responses yet, but it seemed like they were amenable to several of the comments. I'm gonna ask Mike, could you weigh in on their suggested gutter solution?
I'd have to look at it further detail and
I just know if you had any
see if it
thoughts.
would work or, yeah, I mean, it seems like a possible solution, but I would have to look at it further.
Yeah, that corner of the parking lot where there's, or the driveway, when you go in, then you come back out onto Penfield Road. I have been there when it hasn't been raining, but there's a lot of standing water there. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if it's draining from someplace, if it's sheeting across, but it's significant. I use the ESL kiosk a lot on my way to work. It's fine.
So maybe that section isn't very
There's water there.
And that's, I'm glad,
pervious, so it's not,
Now's the time to address that.
and I'm glad you brought that up, because as the applicant stated, when the approvals for,
There it is there. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like that all the time.
when Classy Chassis came in 2010, part of the board's approval resolution was the general condition for providing a property maintenance agreement to the town for those general requirements. However, there was an additional sentence in there that a maintenance agreement for the private drive, that the board was supportive of the two owners entering into such an agreement and then providing a copy to the town. And as the applicant stated, it seemed like at some point that was entered into. However, since Classy Chassis wasn't built, maybe nothing was ever filed, and that's most likely the case. However, they did state that at this time, both parties again are amenable to entering into an agreement. So that is something that that the board at the time, when it is in a position to potentially approve this project, that could be an extra condition or an added condition to that normal property maintenance agreement, again, just like in 2010.
Yeah, it's coming from somewhere. We've got to find the source of that water. I don't know if there's an underground source. I don't know, but it's wet a lot. I bet if we went there now, it's standing water. So what happens is the traffic sometimes gets much worse than that, and everyone's over in the left lane exiting in the wrong lane.
No, going around it.
Yeah. So that really needs to be addressed with this.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt that developing this site under their very strict requirements that they have will help some of this, but it seems like they're trying to suggest a solution to
Mike, you got
remediate
it?
that as well.
Yeah, I mean, once they provide something that we can look at, I think, we'll obviously be able to come up with a solution.
We could,
Yeah.
if the board's in a position to table this tonight, we could make that a condition that they provide when they provide their responses and revised plans from the PRC comments, that they also include details for their proposal
Okay.
for a gutter to help the solution here.
I think
Excellent.
Bob did mention something like that.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
When it came back up after the public participation portion.
Okay. What else we got to have done then for that one? You guys, he's going to dig up or make a new thing up with ESL or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
the
Maintenance agreement, yeah,
agreement.
need that. What else do we say?
One thing I was.
Oh, the landscaping consultant, right, in case they want to do, what they want to do, planters instead of planting?
Well, yeah,
'Cause
because
wanna
they can't dig.
Yeah,
So we
Obviously.
suggested that if they
Right.
can do planters, in which
Okay.
they've added to the plan, so.
Okay, that's cool, so that's done.
Could you pull up the elevation? There we go. How does the board feel about, whoops, where'd it go? Elevations. On the right. How does the board feel about the proposed elevations? They mentioned multiple building material samples. Where did it go? Alright, Doug's showing all four sides now. Thoughts from the board?
I think it looks nice.
Yeah, I looked at it before, I thought it was good.
Yeah. Could you zoom in on the
We
color
definitely
that they
improvement, what's going on down
show?
there.
If there's a color identified, then have a chance to look.
Don't think I saw one either.
Is there anything on the text shown on those? Final level, stone, slow, cultured stone.
There's no colors actually called out.
No roof. Would the board like to ask for clarification and specific details about the colors chosen for these
Yeah.
materials?
Definitely, yep.
Okay. But overall supportive of what they're showing in this rendering.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't ask, and I didn't see it here, was are there going to be any exterior equipment like HVAC units or anything like that? Obviously, it doesn't look like anything will go on the roof, but let's verify that. And if they're going to have HVAC units out there, let's make sure somehow that they're screened.
Good catch. We'll include that. Let's see here. Smart lighting. They did state that building-mounted lights would be provided, no pole-mounted lights in the parking, enough to illuminate the parking on both sides.
And I think there's a lot of lighting around there.
Most
You got
likely
spillage from the parking, you got the kiosk lighting.
top Panorama Plaza across the
Yeah,
street.
you have the parking lot there, all that spills over, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Less AJ fans.
Hmm?
Less AJ fans.
Well, our lighting experts not here, so.
Okay,
So we have those comments that we can get to the applicant. Would the board want to direct staff to begin the preparation of an approval resolution?
please. We'll make a motion, it's time to table it. You have,
I'll make the motion.
Is there-
second it.
Oh, that's the first?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I make the motion.
I'll second it.
I'll second it. Terry and Bill. Thanks,
Great TV show name.
Bastian?
Aye.
Canower?
Aye.
Tydings?
Aye.
All right, and our last application, the Aldi expansion. Initial thoughts, concerns from the board?
The one concern I have, and I couldn't really speak up there too well, but they're removing all the landscaping where they're gonna put the addition on, right? The very long stretch of the building that faces west.
Yes.
But they're not putting anything back, so now you're gonna have this looming wall.
No, it's
No.
relocated.
No, he's gonna put it back, the old stuff, he said if he
Yeah,
could.
but I didn't see it. Is it gonna be back in front of the new structure wall there?
Yes.
It said it's gonna be relocated, but where's it gonna be relocated?
Same area.
Is that the, okay.
It
Yes.
shows
That
them-
was my question.
I think there
yeah.
was some miscommunication up there about
Okay.
what's gonna happen with the landscaping. I think that was the final
Okay.
comment that the applicant made, was that if any plants that are relocated from the existing location to this are damaged or
They
are
would be-
found to be
they'd be
unfit,
replaced.
they would be replaced.
And he'll work with Bruce on that.
Yeah, I think we should
Would-
probably, yeah,
Okay.
throw that in there that Bruce worked with them, you
Just
know,
have
to
Bruce
make
take a
sure.
look at it.
Sure.
You know, hopefully for them, you know, hopefully they'll all live and they can replant them.
Now that we
You know,
don't have
if
a
not-
landscape architect here anymore.
Bruce is the best. I mean, you know. So yeah, that was,
Okay, we can send in a plan and get those comments back to the board and to the applicant before the next meeting.
everything else looks good.
As they stated, they do have to go to the zoning board
Right.
for parking
Right.
variances and for signage, special permits for signage. Can you pull up the proposed architecture? They did state that it would be similar to what's out there now, just basically updating to their standard look now with the signage to match. It might be in the
I think they
plan. It's in the
needed a
plans, I
signage
think.
variance as well,
Yes,
Maybe the first set of
and a
plans.
parking variance.
yeah.
There we go, elevations. So, that, what Doug has on the screen faces Penfield Road. And then if we scroll down, you'll see the front elevation facing the parking. Okay.
So what do you want, so, are you gonna table it, or are we gonna approve it based upon approval from the zoning board?
Well, we didn't do that for the,
Yeah, I think it
Utility
needs to
pole.
be
So table
Tabled.
it pending the results from the zoning board at this
So I
time.
would say you have a question from the
Oh.
applicant, if you'd like to hear it.
Chris?
They are looking to remodel this store this year. It's about a 15-week process with a 5-week shutdown.
Okay.
Plus with the signatures we need to get by the time we get final approval. So we wanted to go to the zoning board first, but they
Right.
said we needed to go to the planning board.
Cool.
So we did that. If we could get preliminary and final tonight, we'd be most gracious, because it would then put us, we already pushed our schedule a little bit, because they literally have to get the store employees to move. They need to advertise everything that they have so that they can shut down their store, and they need to move their employees, either to a different store or schedule vacations. So as of right now, they're scheduled to shut down, well, they're scheduled to start construction soon after they get the zoning board approval.
When are you going to the zoning?
The next Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So if
So we
if
could
we have to
have it-
wait till the 8th, I believe, of June,
We have another
Um,
meeting.
we got another meeting.
Yes, we have another
Another
work session
meeting.
meeting
So if you get that.
on the
25th.
20,
yeah.
no, on the 20th.
that'd be Tuesday.
20th that we rescheduled it. On the 23rd of this month, we have a work session meeting, where the board will be able to revisit this, following the zoning board's review of it.
That would be okay, 23rd. That's-
23rd, right?
Yeah,
Instead of
that's only a few
the
days.
Tuesday. Okay. So let's, we get enough then, just table it, Zach?
Yeah, the board can table the application pending, input from the board's landscape consultant.
Right.
I
Zoning
heard no other concerns, and pending the decision of the zoning
Zoning
board.
board.
But with those in mind, would the board again like to direct staff to begin the preparation
Yes,
and approval?
please.
Okay, with those few things,
I'll make a
Bobby.
motion.
I'll
Oh, I'm
second.
sorry.
You're gonna make the
Go ahead.
motion?
You're good.
Bill will second, or vice versa?
Put Bill down.
you guys can toss for it.
Okay. No cost him dinner.
All
Cool.
quiet over there.
Bastian?
Aye.
Canower?
Aye.
Tydings?
Aye.
All right.
Okay. See you guys then.
Thank you. With all that being said, I have no other items for the board this evening.
Okay, so we'll close this work session for May 11th. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.